Welcome back to Investments 101 for segment number 5. In the previous two sections, I showed you my pyramid, we talked about income tax, and then I showed you my garage, where we discussed the various accounts that are available to us when we deal with a financial institution. So it is now time for me to finally show you my transformation chart adapted for investing. So without any further delay, here it is. There you finally have it, the chart adapted for investing. As you can see, it's the exact same thing as before. We have some basic ingredients. In the middle, we have some refined options. And finally, at the end, we have a final choice. Our basic ingredients in this case are stocks and bonds. And the best example I have to explain stocks and bonds when it comes to investing is to make reference to that chart adapted for hockey. If you recall, I described the basic ingredients in the hockey scenario by saying that we had players from around the world. Well, guess what? In investing, we have the exact same thing. We have stocks and bonds from Canada. We have stocks and bonds that are American. We have stocks and bonds that are international. And just like in hockey, we have our forwards and our defensemen. In this case, the stocks are your forwards. A portfolio needs stocks for growth. So the purpose of stocks is to grow your money. And the bonds are more like your defensemen. They're more to preserve your capital. So if your plan is to preserve your money with limited growth, then the bonds are usually important for that. So another example I could use for stocks and bonds would be like a car example where your stocks are the gas pedal and your bonds are the brake. The next positions 2 and 3 in investing, I'm going to compare to the discussion we have with the Chinese restaurant. If you recall, at position 2 with the Chinese restaurant, we had the chef with the owner of the restaurant. That was position number 2. And in the middle, we wanted to create a menu for the restaurant. So the chef was tasked with creating some dishes. Well, in investing, it's exactly the same thing. But we're not talking about a chef in position number 2. We're talking about a professional called a portfolio manager. That person, along with his employer, an investment company, is being tasked with creating a menu of investment options for the general public. So we're not talking dishes, we're talking mutual funds and exchange traded funds, ETFs. I'll explain all of those things further later on, but for now, I'm just going to go quickly through and explain the different positions, and we'll come back. So we have our stocks and bonds to start. This is our starting point. At position number 2, we have a portfolio manager that's being tasked with creating some dishes, some investment products for the public to purchase. At position number 4, we find ourselves, every time in every scenario, we find ourselves at position number 4 with a choice to make. So in this case, when it comes to investing, we're again at position 4, but we could be accompanied by an advisor. That's really up to us. But this is where we stand. We have a decision to make. And finally, our final choice, we have some prearranged options, and I'm going back once again to the Chinese restaurant. If you remember there, we had our combo plates. Well, in the investment world, you have the exact same option. For convenience, the investment companies are creating those portfolio solutions. They're basically an entire portfolio created for us. It's for extreme convenience, and all we have to do is decide how much risk we're willing to take, and that's why we have different options. And I'll bring you your focus on the little numbers that I've put. For example, portfolio solution number 1. In between brackets, I have 100E and 0I. This refers to the amount of stock and the amount of bonds that you have in that portfolio. E stands for equity, and that's the stock content. And I stands for fixed income, and that would be your bonds. So as you can see, portfolio solution number 1 is 100% stock, 0% bond. Number 2 is 80% stock, 20% bonds. Number 3 is 65% stocks, 35% bonds, and all the way down to 7, where we have 0% stock, so there's no stocks there, and it's 100% bonds. So as you can probably assume from what you already know, is that portfolio number 1 is going to have a much higher growth potential than portfolio number 7, simply because number 1 is made entirely of stocks and number 7 is made entirely of bonds. And if you recall my comparison to hockey, the stocks are our forwards. So they're going to generate some growth for us. But at number 1, we don't have any defensemen on our team. So it's a portfolio that has the risk of going up and down quite a bit. The total opposite with portfolio solution number 7, which has 0 stocks and all bonds. So it's a team full of defensemen. You can't expect a whole lot of growth from that. You'll get some, but it will not perform the same as number 1. And these are simply examples. I chose 7. A company, an investment company, could have portfolio solutions with 4 options, 5 options, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's up to them. But they basically work the same way. It's a convenient portfolio. You get to choose how much risk you're willing to take, what kind of growth expectations that you have. And the way these portfolios are going to perform is like a roller coaster ride. The more stocks you have, the bigger the ups and downs. So portfolio solution number 1 will be like the huge roller coaster, and number 7 will be the kiddie one. So that would be a good way to look at it. So we are at position number 4. We have a portfolio to build, and we have 3 options. Basically, we could decide to play portfolio manager and pick our own stocks and bonds, but in reality, nobody picks bonds. So whenever you choose to do it this way, you're picking stocks. Another option would be to pick from the refined option in the middle, choose some mutual funds or some exchange-traded funds, ETFs, which I will explain. Or you could pick a portfolio solution. It would be like your combo at the restaurant. You say, look, this is what I want. Or it could be a mix of all 3. You could put some money in a solution. You could pick some mutual funds or ETFs from the middle. And you could pick some stocks from the first box. So that is my initial summary of this investment chart. We've now reached the end of section 5. In the next segment, I will, as promised, start discussing into more details every single position on that chart. And we're going to start with position 1, our basic ingredients. So see you there.